Na shukran sana mpenzi mtazamaji kwa kujiunga nasi katika awamu ya pili ya kipindi ukipendacho cha Karibu East Africa katika runinga uipendayo ya S24. Na leo kama kawaida, jana unakumbuka kuwa tulikuwa tunakujuza kwa kina yaliyokuwa yanatendeka katika ulimwengu wa kibiashara, hasa katika kanda hii ya Afrika Mashariki. Mimi ni Sadamu Bale na haya ndiyo tuliyokuandalia. Na pia nakukumbusha kuwa mgeni wetu siku ya leo ni Bwana Steven Kabureta, ambaye ni afisa au mkurugenzi mkuu wa kampuni inayopeleka au inayotathmini kampuni zote za kufanya biashara la soko ambazo zinahusika katika biashara ya kutoa na kuingiza bidhaa mbalimbali nchini, haswa katika kanda hii ya Afrika Mashariki. Mimi ni Sadamu Bali.
With the growing need to do trade and business across borders, it involves movement of goods from one place to another through various means of transport such as road, water, air or railway lines. Due to the rising need for trading across borders, a need for middlemen arises, and these are clearing and forwarding agents, who on this program are our area of interest, hence the topic business of clearing and forwarding in the East African region.
Clearing and forwarding is logistics for facilitation. We do identify with the importer or an exporter, and our responsibility is to link that importer with the Uganda Revenue Authority to make sure that what he's exporting and what he's importing is properly documented, and the documentation is lodged with the Uganda Revenue Authority, who license us as customs agents or customs brokers, in other words, to make sure that goods either move inward or outward with proper documentation. Not only goods, but also human, because we work at the airport also to make sure that goods which come in are catered for at the airport in a good manner.
The business of clearing and forwarding is at a rise due to emerging business patterns and aids to trade. In Karibu, East Africa today, we have extensively digested the business of clearing and forwarding, which involves several processes, which includes costs and laws in clearing and forwarding sectors.
Goods are actually into two types. We have the transit inward, that is the goods that come from foreign through Kenya to foreign countries and partner states. On transit goods, majorly handle goods to Uganda, to Rwanda, South Sudan, Burundi, and northern parts of Tanzania. At the container terminal, we have officers from those countries. We have officers from Rwanda Revenue Authority, we have officers from Southern Sudan, we have officers from Tanzania Revenue Authority, we have officers from Burundi. With Rwanda Revenue Authority, they clear their own goods. We don't clear their goods. Uganda Revenue Authority, they clear part of their goods. We do clear part of their goods as they develop their systems and capacity to handle all the goods.
Clearing and Forwarding has an umbrella association called the Federation of East African Freight Forwarders Association, an association which brings together all clearing associations in the East African member states, with its headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya.
We have an association in making, which is joining all of us. It is the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association. It puts us all together. You got to be a member of that association, which combines all of you to live in harmony and do follow the law. It is called FIFA, and it is a federation that puts companies in Rwanda, companies in Burundi, companies in Uganda, companies in Kenya and Tanzania for the time being. But those in DRC, because they are not part of the East African community, are not part of us. Those in Sudan, Southern Sudan, are not part of us. But soon we are trying to incorporate them, but we do help them to do their work.
The Federation of East African Forwarders Association was formed in 2005 and it is bounded by the East African Community Customs Management Act 2004.
We are governed by a law, an act of governments of East Africa. We are governed by a law called ECMA, East African Customs Management Act. That law requires me to fulfill. First of all, I'm licensed by customs as a customs agent. Now, the laws governing me and the client are incorporated in the East African Management Act. Now, when I take on your goods, I'm taking them on behalf of the revenue authorities around us. It could be Uganda Revenue Authority, it could be Tanzania Revenue Authority, it could be Kenya Revenue Authority, it could be now we are trying even to incorporate our Sudan brothers to us, and those brothers, we are governed by one law.
In Uganda, there are about 380 legally registered clearing and forwarding companies, as per information from Uganda Clearing Industry and Forwarding Association. Stephen Kabuleta, the board member of the Uganda Clearing Industry and Forwarding Association, defines the business.
A shipper, whom you are calling an importer, I call them shippers because they are shipping goods inward, need to go and negotiate his import. That is first making an order overseas. He can make it through us, or he can do it directly on his own.
The importers get the clearing agents. The clearing agents lodge the entries, they pay for the goods, they present the documents to customs, and our work is actually to verify the declarations, what they have declared against the actual goods that they have brought. So the process of verification involves opening up the container to check the goods. Most times we just sample and at random to confirm that indeed what has been declared is actually what has been stuffed into the containers.
Our responsibility is to move logistics between the borders of Uganda, inward and outward. And our responsibility is to link the importer or a shipper with Uganda Revenue Authority and the authorities surrounding us. What happens is that the client, you as a client, first of all, insure your goods at sea. There is what they call marine insurance, covers you at sea. When it lands in East Africa, I take responsibility of revenue authority taxes. I give you a coverage for that, so that in case a car gets lost on the way inside East Africa, that implies that it is consumed within East Africa. Therefore, the taxes are wanted or are needed by those revenue authorities. If the goods were coming to Kampala, they are your goods. The revenue authority, my responsibility is to cover Uganda Revenue Authority. But if you feel that you need an extra insurance, like the one you covered at sea, it is a responsibility of the importer or the shipper. So we only cover as freight forwarders the taxes that have been counted or are estimated at the entry point.
It is the role of a clearing and forwarding companies to get these goods to clients wherever they are. Clearing and forwarding services deals with export and import of goods and consignments, loading, shipping and forwarding of goods from one country to another. These services are offered by a clearing and forwarding company or agents. Agents, however, act on behalf of the company to transport goods to a particular client, keeping records for any taxes and travel documentation.
I coordinate you with the supplier. I'll give an example of a unit, a car. You want a car of a given type. I'll coordinate you with the supplier in Japan. The supplier gives me an invoice, gives me an export document, gives me an SGS or a Bureau of Standards requirement, and once they have arrived, we have finished the formalities, the legal formalities of the import. Then you put your goods on the ship. I will put the goods on the ship, even if it is a container, even if it's a unit. I put them on the shipping. You give it to the shipping agent who moves it up to Mombasa. Now, Uganda or East Africa, its borders are the sea. Once they land in East Africa, the values of those goods, we start paying tax on those values. That is to say, the CIF, cost, insurance and freight, is calculated as soon as the goods touch East African boundaries. That is, by sea, by air, they touch the airports. Once they touch the airports, we don't charge insurance on the airport, but we charge cost and freight up to the airport. Now once they have touched the airport, be it Embakasi, be it Dar es Salaam, or be it Entebbe, the values of the goods stop there. We don't add any other value. Now, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, of course, incur expenses, but those expenses are not incorporated into the CIF value because they belong to East Africa, and it has been quite a relief to importers not to be taxed on the local, because you are at home when you are within East Africa. So the domestic tax charged on the land inland haulage or inland taxation is not part of the CIF value, of the tax value for that matter.
And thank you for keeping it Smart 24 TV. Right now we shall be taking a short commercial break and we shall be right back.
Smart 24. Smart Business.
that we slowly need to understand that investment clubs are supposed to be passive, more passive than actual entrepreneurship clubs, you could say, or business clubs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we need to learn how to separate the two.
Yes, it's very important. Yeah.
So that's the criteria I think you would use.
Yeah, investing and kind of having a hand.
Smart 24. Smart Business.
Welcome and thank you for having joined us on another episode of the Karibu East Africa, a program that gives you a deep understanding of the East African region. My guest today is the board member rather of the Uganda Clearing Industry and Fowarding Association, who will be taking us through a deep understanding of what the business of clearing and forwarding is as far as importation and exportation of goods are concerned.
The clearing and forwarding agents are liable to a law which binds them and the clients, which is the East African Community Customs Management Act 2004. However, there is no clear law that binds all other clearing and forwarding companies, with the Federation of East African Forwarders Association an issue that the Federation is working to have the law in place. The Region Electronic e-cargo tracking system enables real-time tracking of transit cargo from border points to destination through an online platform monitored in by the member countries that implemented the system.
The system operates in a manner that is convenient for both the shipper and me as a freight forwarder. E-cargo system, I sit on my desk here and I'm able to import a consignment within East Africa. Either import or export a consignment to and from the country in which these goods are. If the goods are in Kenya and they are coming to Kampala, I prepare an entry in Kampala and I simply send it to customs officials in Kenya, and they simply load this consignment on a truck and it comes to the border and we are able to handle it inward.
The system enables the East African member states to track movement of goods along the northern corridor from the port of Mombasa to Kampala and Kigali.
They are coming from overseas. After they have landed at the port, I have authority to pay the money in this country. The same thing goes on in Rwanda, the same thing goes on in Burundi, the same thing goes on in Tanzania. You can pay for those goods when they are still at the port, as long as Uganda Revenue Authority staff can look at them and verify them. After the verification, the goods are brought in and they come straight for consumption. But if I want to pay taxes here, I still can make a document that moves that consignment to a particular inland cargo depot. And once they arrive in that inland cargo depot, they are given a manifest and they prepare a home consumption entry. And that is when we are now allowed to deliver these goods to the shipper or to the importer.
It is highly appreciated by the authorities which have implemented it. Carburetor acknowledges the importance of the system to the clearing and forwarding process, which at a greater extent has helped to curb a few challenges in the sector.
They were being dumped everywhere. It was a very big setback. Countries were crying foul of what was happening around them. But of recent, the tracking system has at least improved. You can't say you have eliminated. It has actually improved in a way.
According to the comparative advantage of road transport, it is majorly used by East African countries to transport merchandise from one place to another, which calls for maintenance due to the damages caused by heavy trucks.
As a result, each country revised a way of getting to know exactly what load somebody is carrying. Remember, there was a 4-axle, 5-axle trucks which were killing our roads. We all agreed as East Africa to make sure that there is only 3-axle trucks running on our roads, because roads are very expensive to maintain. As a result, human error still came in. Some people were not very smart in their job. As a result, roads continued being damaged. Why? Because somebody has been given kitu kidogo and he allowed a truck which is overloaded, or he didn't even take trouble to check it. To go to the next point, if we have agreed as way bridge in charge and we are not willing to adhere.
As a result, states introduced weighbridge to manage the load and weight that each truck carries to minimize costs for road maintaining.
Now in Uganda, we have only one weighbridge at Busitema, and we make sure that we even change stuff before they are affected by this disease of kitu kidogo. When they are seated there very temporarily, that if they are caught up in any way at the ICD when they are going to enter, we have way bridges. When you bring your container and it is about to enter an ICD, the ICD puts it through a way bridge. Now we put one only at Setema. Now it is different with Kenya. Kenya don't trust their people so much. I know they do trust them, but they don't trust them so much. They have their own method of work, and they make sure the way bridges are many. And you can't convince them on saying.
Tanzania, there's very many.
Yeah, in Tanzania there are very many. Tanzanians think that a human being cannot be tamed in a day.
Even in buses.
Even a bus, because buses have become cargo truckers. Because once a road is deroded because of fictitious guys, people who don't understand the economics of road building, we would be having a very big loss. So to us as Ugandans, and to me as a freight forwarder, I warn my shipper, I warn my importer, but please keep the correct weight, because there are even scanners. There are way bridges all over. Now Kenya has given us a good hand and has helped us to make sure that by the time it arrives here, we have checked it so many times that they have no way of bringing a non-void.
A case point is a Kenya's weighbridge policy that does not allow trucks to exceed the load of 56,000 tons. For tax variation, different tax policies still pose a danger to the business, and this is due to different domestic policies structured by different countries, such as Uganda, which imposes a domestic VAT collection of 18%, which differs from Kenya's 16%, unlike the customs policy, which maintains a uniform tax policy in all East African states.
Someone tell me I have bought this car at 5,000 when I have a valuation of 6,000 or 7,000. I give you a value of 7,000, and that's what they call high taxes.
Why?
Because of the communication we have between Uganda and Japan. Each chassis of a unit has a Yao manufacturer. And if you have tampered with any of these values, our standard value in a month will limit you to come down or go above. So at times, People buy cars at 5,000. By the time they get here, they find the values have fallen. Now they are selling in the value guideline of last month. It is showing them 4,000. They will charge you at 4,000. But car importers will not see that. They will want it to still remain at their value, and that value is at times not favorable. So we have two sets of policies. There is a policy in customs. You know, there is a difference between customs and domestic tax. Each country on domestic tax has its policies. Domestic tax, I mean, the taxes collected domestically for a particular country. They vary from one country to another. But for customs taxes, customs is a department of its own that runs income on customs and duties. In which case, these customs taxes are governed by East African Customs Management Act. The rates are the same, the policies are the same. It was an act of East African Community Parliament that we all belong to one center. But on domestic tax, we differ according to our policies locally.
Na basi kufikia hapo, na kuhongera sana mpenzi mtazamaji kwa kujiunga nasi kutoka mwanzo wa kipindi kilipoanzia hadi tamati sasa hivi. Tunatumai kuwa umepata la kuiga haswa kuhusu tuliyoyazungumzia leo. Basi ungana nami Alhamisi ijayo kuanzia saa 2. We hope that you have had something to learn as far as clearing and forwarding is concerned. My name is Sada Mubale.
Smart 24.